When a new pup gets added to the family, it's crazy exciting, but make sure you're not committing some classic mistakes that can really mess up your pup's health and behavior. Hey there, it's me, Thai Marques, your friendly vet from the Pitfalls channel. Today, we're going to talk about some super important steps you need to take in your pup's first few weeks, and trust me, error number 4 will blow your mind. So get ready. Ready to rock and roll? Too early weaning. One of the biggest mistakes folks make is weaning their pups too soon. Early weaning is basically cutting your pup off from their mom's milk way too soon. This doesn't just take a hit on their immune system, but also their social skills. Pups don't get many antibodies while they're in the womb, so they get most of them from their mother's milk. This first milk, or power juice, is called colostrum. Colostrum is super concentrated milk, packed with proteins and antibodies, and it's super duper important that your pup gets it. With this milk, they get antibodies they need for the start of their life. After their 16th week of life, these mama's antibodies will drop, and the ones from vaccinations will stick around. Sure, around 1.5 months into life, pups start to wean naturally, but that doesn't mean we should rush the process. Plus, in this period of roughly 2 months, all the way to about 4 months, is your pup's socialization phase. That's when their brain is totally developed and it's ready to learn how to be a good doggo and how to get along with others in their pack. If pups are separated from their siblings and mom too early, they can be more likely to develop fears and aggressive behaviors towards both animals and humans. Overhumanizing. Another common mistake is treating your pup too much like a human. Unlike a human baby, a puppy doesn't need to be constantly held and spoiled. In fact, it can make them feel uncomfortable and insecure. And what about letting a pup sleep in your bed? Let's get into that. Your pup needs to be a pup. They need to run around, play in the dirt, bark, and play with other dogs. More and more dogs are being treated like family members. That's great. It helps veterinary science to advance, and they get to live longer. But remember, we're not the same species, and we have different needs. For instance, your pup can't eat everything you eat. They can't be attached to you 24/7. They need to touch the ground and interact with other animals. So, about letting your pup sleep in your bed? It's okay, but if you start that early, know that it'll be really hard to break that habit. You need to be mindful of their spot in the bed. Ideally, they should sleep at your feet. If they start sleeping on your head or shoulders, they may develop dominating behaviors. So, bed sharing is cool. Just set some boundaries. A lot of families make the mistake of feeding their pup while they eat. This can be harmful. It's important that your pup has their own meal times. If your pup gets scraps while you eat, they'll develop begging habits. They'll start hanging around every time someone's eating, begging for food. This isn't good. They could start behaving anxiously because of it. Also, you can't just give them everything you eat. It can be dangerous. They might end up with upset stomachs or even poisoning. Not properly socializing your pup might lead to behavioral issues down the line. It's crucial he learns to socialize so he grows up to be a well-adjusted pet. But be warned, the wrong kind of socializing can be risky. As mentioned earlier, they start building these social skills from a very young age, but their vaccinations usually aren't all done when it's time for them to start mingling with other pets. So make sure they're interacting with vaccinated pets in a safe, controlled environment to keep them from catching any nasty diseases. Also, this phase of life is when they should be meeting as many people and animals as possible, so they can learn and get used to different sounds that could form part of their daily routine, like thunderstorms. Not teaching them basic manners can be trouble too. It's so important to teach them good behavior early on. Always remember, puppies don't speak human, so it's up to us to show them where to pee, what they can chew on, and what they can't. If they're not taken from their litter too early, they can learn some stuff from their siblings and parents, but when it comes to how we want them to behave in our homes, that's on us. Ignoring basic training can result in behavioral problems later. We can't let the puppy have everything he wants. He needs to know what's his and what's ours. For instance, if we let him play with non-dog items, he might end up swallowing, and often these objects can only be removed surgically, creating what are known as foreign bodies. Letting the puppy roam free around the house, Letting a puppy roam unsupervised can lead to accidents and naughty behavior. Imagine if you had a pool and let the puppy near it on his first day. He could end up falling in, and that could be really bad. It's best to limit their space at first, gradually giving them more freedom until they eventually have access to the entire house. This way they get more familiar with their surroundings, and we can constantly teach them what they're allowed or not allowed to do. Leaving food out all the time can also breed problems. Giving your pup access to food 24/7 can potentially lead to overweight and digestive troubles. What you should do is divide their daily food allowance into 2 or 3 servings. A puppy finds it harder to maintain a stable blood sugar level, and going too long without food can be dangerous. Continual access to food isn't great either, because they could end up eating everything in one go and staying hungry for the rest of the day, overeating, or develop issues like gastric dilatation, which can even be fatal for some breeds and sizes. Providing food for your dog also helps in building a bond and teaches them respect, understanding that you're the food giver and that mealtime should be respected. Treat your pup at inappropriate times can create problems too. Showering your pup with treats all the time can lead them to have unrealistic expectations. A treat should only be given as a reward for good behavior. This is called positive reinforcement. If you offer them a treat when they don't want to eat their food, they're going to repeat the same behavior because they realize they get something even better, a treat. And likewise, if they're busy chewing on a shoe and you hand over a treat to distract them, they're going to think that destroying shoes is a surefire way to getting their favorite treats. Don't keep switching the food up. Changing up their kibble constantly can upset their belly. Generally, pups should eat puppy food up until they're a year old. They get used to the nutrients in their food, and if you keep changing it, they might not absorb everything properly. They could end up missing out on or getting too much of some nutrients and might get the runs. Encouraging temper tantrums. Don't let your pup get into habits that you don't want from an older dog. For example, if you don't want an aggressive dog, don't play games where you let them nibble on your hand. They might want to chew on you a lot when they're babies because the teeth are growing and changing and they're teething. Bring toys when you're playing with your puppy. Don't make your hands the center of the game so they don't become aggressive or think it's all right to bite people. As babies, their little nips may not seem like much, but when they grow up, they can cause serious damage, using super long phrases when you're speaking to them. Talking in long, complicated sentences can confuse them. When you're telling them something, just use yes or no. Don't bother explaining why, because they won't get it. They just need to know what behavior you want and what you don't want. Stick with short words and commands like sit, down, stay, go. Say these commands like you mean it. Call them in a firm tone, but don't shout. Make sure they're focused on you and give your one-word command. If you rattle on and on, they'll just get lost. Using body language can also help them understand what you're asking for. Giving in when they're whining. If you always run to your pup when they cry, they can become clingy and get separation anxiety. Some dogs can't handle being alone, which might be the result of something from their puppyhood. You shouldn't always drop everything as soon as they start crying. Same thing goes with barking. Don't always rush over to check it out. If you do, they'll think that's how things work and that they should keep doing it. Dogs with separation anxiety can't handle being apart from their owners. They get upset around strangers, shake, bark, whine, and might even hurt themselves. Don't be too hard on them. Strict punishment can scare them and encourage bad habits. Aim for positive training methods, rewarding them when they do something right. Just say no and ignore them if they do something wrong. If you yell, hit, throw things, or squirt them with water, they could end up getting scared of people, loud noises, even taking baths. So always encourage good behavior and disregard the bad stuff. Don't disturb their sleep. There's a lot of new stuff going on for them, coming to your home, being separated from their mom and siblings. So if they're sleeping, let them do their thing. Disturbing them in their sleep can scare them and make them feel insecure. They might react by nipping and scratching. Don't assume your puppy will grow up to be an aggressive dog if they do this. They probably just got startled. Give them space when they're catching Z's. So there you have it, folks. Avoid these common mistakes when raising a puppy. Hopefully, this has been helpful and you end up with a happy, healthy pup with good manners. If you enjoyed this, check out our other video on scientifically proven ways to tell if your dog loves you. I'll drop a link here for you guys. Catch you later.